Howdy, everyone. Matt here. I got a question for you. How athletic do you think the average person is? And do you think that can affect their prognosis with physical therapy? Let's talk about it. All right, everyone. First and foremost, let me introduce myself. My name is Matt. I am Matt the PT, coming at you with another video, another topic, or something from the physical therapy world. First off, let me say thank you to everyone who have subscribed. And if you enjoy these videos, please subscribe to the channel. And of course, hit that thumbs up video if you like this one as well. But I want to talk about this because I saw this video in which an individual was talking about another video of an individual who was critiquing people trying to jump in an office. And apparently they went around in this office like, let me see you jump. And these people couldn't jump more than like 2 inches off of the ground. And so the person was saying like, oh, this is so bad. You can't do this and that. To which this other person that I was seeing, and of course I could not find the original video that this person was talking about. And they were saying, that's actually a lot more challenging than you think. There are not a lot of athletic people. The average person is not that athletic, meaning that to be able to run or jump or to throw. And that got me thinking, how much do you think that athletic ability, and I'm not saying like, oh, just to do anything, wild or crazy, but with athletics in a sport, there's a degree of coordination. And how much do you think that can play over into somebody's outcomes or prognosis with therapy, or like how well they're going to do? Because if you have someone who is maybe not as coordinated or has control of their body, or they can't move in a certain way, that's going to affect their outcome. I mean that they're not going to do as well. Because think about what we do in therapy. I'm working outpatient orthopedics, and this may not apply to other areas of physical therapy, but so much of what we do is about movement. It's a big thing. We're movement experts. We're movement. We do exercise. Pick this up, push this, lift this, carry that, pull this, do all of that stuff. And how much of a degree of coordination is required with doing that? And not everybody can do it. Now, I noticed this back when I was in college. I was actually a D1 athlete. I went to college and I walked onto the track team and I made the track team. And there was a big difference between the people that I had competed with in high school to college. Now, people I did stuff with, I competed with in high school, very athletic, very, very, amazing things that they did. But then you go to college, all those people that were very good there are all together in one spot. And so stuff starts getting separated out. So you start seeing these different ability levels of all these people who are athletic. But it was amazing that many of us could do so many things. We could run, we could jump, we could throw, we could, all of these things. And I noticed like when I went to PT school, people kind of fall into two categories. And I believe this is a knock on whenever we see these videos of PT programs, when they have students doing stuff, that you have people in PT school who did athletics at one point and are coordinated, and they can run, they can jump, they could do those things. They have that ability. And then you got people who really didn't, and they struggle to do those things, in which you see people commenting, oh, you're physical therapy, you can't do those things. There's some coordination. And I also noticed that really when I started working was that, boy, sometimes people have a hard time with some of these simplest exercises. Now, I worked as a personal trainer for a short period of time, and you try to teach people how to exercise and move. And I thought, oh, well, it's because you're doing new movements and stuff like this, because the people that typically would come for training, they have some degree of like wanting to move. But when you get into like physical therapy, you're getting like the average person and trying to teach simple movements is just so wild of like, wow, you have a hard time with this. And I remember one of the first times I ever noticed it, I was having somebody do a sit to stand, because I think we're working on, like, they were coming back from a knee surgery or something like that. Just being able to stand up and sit down. And they would just just kind of like throw themselves up and then just flop down onto the seat. They sit up and they flop down onto the seat. And it's like, control your body. Like, I can just see, like, you're not kind of like controlling. Like, think of somebody doing like a heavy squat. Now, that's kind of an extreme. I'm going to use an extreme example, but how they're just controlling every bit of them from their head to toe. Everything is under a control. But this, like a toddler, how they kind of flop down on a chair and they just hop up. That's kind of what it was looking like. And like, huh. And this person had a very hard time doing well and progressing because the exercises were very, very hard for them to control and think, how do I feel this? And I mean, if we want examples of this, look at how to do a hip hinge. How hard is it to teach a hip hinge? And how many videos out there are people talking about how to do a hip hinge? We can just use that as an example of how challenging it is to do a hip hinge, to do it correctly. And think about that with people. They can't really do this. Wow, how are they going to respond with therapy? And again, we also make videos, and one of my first videos that ever went really kind of viral was kind of making light of when you teach a patient one thing and they come back and they're just doing a complete. How often does that happen? People just kind of just do. But to them, they're feeling, hey, I'm doing this correctly. I'm doing it the way that you told me to do it. They can't feel their body. I don't know what that feels like. What do you mean to squeeze my shoulder blades? What do you mean to tighten this muscle? I don't know what that is. And that's a challenging thing to do. And I think that really, really gets lost. And it's so easy for people to say that someone didn't do well with therapy didn't work, or all this didn't work. But it's like, there's a lot they have to overcome. They have to gain a confidence and an ability to feel their body, to be able to understand what something does. Are they getting enough feedback? People have talked about like how many repetitions it takes of something to like, kind of master the movement of, was it like 10,000 reps or 20,000, whatever it is. But how many reps of that does it take? I will tell you, like, I've worked with people throwing the shot put or the discus, and I tell them it's a lot of reps. You have to get a lot of repetition in to get more comfortable with feeling a movement, of feeling what is correct. But here's the other thing. If they're doing the movement incorrectly more than they are doing it correctly with you, that could be detrimental. Somebody could sit there and like, I do this thing over and over and over again. They did it incorrectly. Now I have to unlearn how to do this because this movement feels more natural because they've done it so much versus what the proper movement is. Okay. And I think that really, really gets lost. Now, I will say another thing, like people said, again, it's just so easy for people. Oh, you just got to do this. Again, going back to the athletic thing, I think people really forget the levels of athleticism. Okay. They really forget that because, if you start watching, when you're watching something, little league, high school, college, professional, the people there are very often on the same level. Little league, probably not, unless you get to club teams, but like little league, you get some kids. It's like, okay, this isn't your sport. And you get some kids that are very, very good. And we lose sight because as you go up, they're surrounded by people that are very similar to them, who are some of the best of the best. But there's a great example of this. It's this video right here. Now, this video is Shelly Ann Fraser-Price. She was an Olympian, an Olympic sprinter, and she's running against other moms, okay? She is an Olympic sprinter who won medals at the Olympics. So this is the elite of the elite. And then these are regular people, okay? And I'm watching her, she is not even trying. that speed that she is going at is what I would guess, warms up with. That is like the first thing that she would do when she shows up to the track to just start warming up. That is her ability. That is what other people are doing. That is the difference in skill level, okay? And I think we lose sight of how amazing in the ability of athletes, of how they are with things. Now, I think we need to think about that again, going back over to therapy. When people, again, dismiss it to say, no, this isn't working. Or even I would say with insurance companies, when they start denying things and say, well, no, you need to be doing. There's an aspect of coordination that we're trying to teach. We're trying to teach this person how to do this, to get those repetitions in correctly and to help them. And the average person, their job is not to do exercise. Unlike, Shelly Ann Fraser Price, her job was to be an athlete. So yeah, she could train. She's going to get very good at it. Average person, I'm not being paid to do these exercises. I have another job. I got a family. I got other stuff I got to take care of. I have time to sit around and practice this thing. Some people do, and they get pretty good at it, which is very interesting when that happens. But I think that's really lost. And that we really, really need to bring that out and to say when things are not working or people start kind of crapping on it, it's like, hang on. We have to look at things of additional, the coordination, the strength, the abilities of people, because we may be teaching them a new exercise, a new movement for their body. And again, a new movement, something that they have never done before. They have to learn how to do, and then we have to progress it. And you have to understand how to progress it. We have to do that. And that's going to come with a learning curve. Again, go back to a hip hinge. Every day, it is so challenging to teach people how to do a hip hinge. I'm not faulting them. It is a fairly challenging movement. It can be simple. Or even better, a shoulder pendulum. How often do people not do a shoulder pendulum correctly? Or a row, a banded row, a scapular retraction, that people cannot do that because of a coordination. And just saying, hey, he helping you a few times may not actually be enough to train the body and to keep that in them where they're going to keep going. We need to have that aspect of things and really keep that in mind when we talk about if people are going to do well. I think that, again, that's what I'm thinking, okay? That we really need to make that an aspect and really, really point that out and talk about that and possibly address it way more and make that a bigger thing. Anyway, let me know your thoughts and opinions and beliefs about that. How athletic do you think the average person is? Do you think that this is a reason why people maybe not get better? It's like, hey, you just have to learn how to move, how to do these things. Do you think that's the thing about it? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, hit that thumbs up button. And of course, subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you a copay or anything like that. And until next time, take care of yourself. Take care of your patients. I'll see you then.